Hello and welcome to Injury Time. Sandeep Menon here, and this day we have Pradhyum Reddy and Ranjit Bajaj on the show with us. Here to discuss something that is slightly not what we usually do, but this is a podcast that dwells into the deeper issues in Indian football. The issue today is match fixing. As to give just a rundown to anybody who does not know what is happening, last week we saw some fairly blatant football, match fixing type football, so which brought this whole conversation up. And Ranjit was very vocal on Twitter as well. Prad and I also had a few conversations, so we thought this is a perfect time to get everybody on board and start talking about this. So first of all, welcome both of you. Thank you so much for taking time off to do this.
Yeah, thanks, Sandeep. I think important. I think even Ranjit and I were having offline. We were having the whole of last week some discussions about it back and forth, and I think more people need to bring this forward because it's not something that's happened last week. It's been happening for years, and it's just that recent incident in Delhi was so obvious that even the layperson could see what's going on, and that's when everyone suddenly eyeballs brought to it. Because otherwise, we've all been you and I, Sandeep, have been talking about it in Bangalore Super Division for years. Goa football, it's been happening for years, and there's just been smatterings of investigations about it. And I think Ranjit knows Delhi. I've watched Delhi football, the streams as well, and it's blatant to the point where I've shared screenshots with Sandeep about people having conversations on the side about the fixing of it. So it's going on for years. It's not an overnight thing. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me, Sandy. The thing is that, like you said, rather be here on happier times when we're saying something good about Indian football, but that in the recent past just doesn't seem to be happening at all. I think 3 titles in a year was all the luck we could take ever in our lives, and I think we've used up all of it for the next decade. Because after that, oh my God, it's just been worse to worse. And then this is like the cherry on top of all the shit, not a cake. And it's so unbelievable that it got to this point where we all knew the ones who were involved in football, like Brad says. In fact, before this came out, we were talking about it on WhatsApp, that how blatant it is, and he was telling me about his experiences already, what he's been through, and I was telling him what I've been through. And then this happened. So it was immediately like a 10-day gap between our last conversation with Brad. And when it happened in the way it happened, it was just so sad to see. And people don't realize, people keep on saying, okay, it doesn't matter, it's not the ISL or it's not the national team. But Sunil Chetri came from this league. And when you say that, I can name 4 players who came from the Goa League, 4 players who came from the Karnataka League in the Indian team, Bengaluru League, or, all these leagues. So these leagues are the backbone. And if it's happening there, it's happening in second division, it's happening in I-League, it's definitely happening everywhere else.
So before we start, like you mentioned all these things, how blatant and how often has this thing happened? I'm just going to ask it for everybody so that even people who are not in the know can understand how prevalent this problem is in Indian football.
See, I would say with my experience since day one, and that's been since 2015, it's been a daily occurrence that I've heard some kind of a match being fixed either in state league or in I-League or second division, or I can see something which does not sit right. See, I'll tell you what it means by it does not sit right. The number of hours you sit on a field and you watch something, and in something unnatural happens, it can happen once, but if it's repeated and it's a pattern, that is why when you have these agencies like Genius Sports and other agencies whose only job is to flag patterns, that's how they came up with the algorithm with people like us who watch matches for a living. And we could see the kind of things which are happening. They were so blatant, but because there was no proof and there was no video and there was no live matches going on at that time, we couldn't do anything about it. It was our word against basically the entire lobbies. Because see, the moment you bring it up, you're also raising a question on the state or whoever the organizer of the league is. You're raising a question on the referees. You're raising a question, and even the other clubs will not support you, especially the ones who are doing well. because they'll think, oh my God, it's sour grapes, or is demeaning our winning the league or doing well in the league, and that's not how we won the league. They don't want to be tainted by that. And then the current federation president doesn't want in his term to be known as that match fixing happened. So it's all these personal problems that people have and of shoving it under the carpet that has happened since the 1980s. We've had matches of in the Calcutta League 89-0 and 118-0, and that was the 80s. And from that time, it's not changed at all, because in fact it's got worse, because they've seen since the 1980s there's been no one who's ever been banned, no one has ever gone to jail, there's never even been a police investigation. So if there's no deterrent, see, the whole thing is deterrent, and that's what rules and regulations are. Even in football, deterrents are a red card or yellow cards, deterrents or fines which we clubs get if you don't follow something. They're deterrents. The same way, there's a deterrent for probably doing a violent foul or abusing a referee, but there's no deterrent for match fixing. There's no particular section in Indian football which says if you are caught match fixing, you'll be banned for life and we'll do a police investigation against you. There's not even a set standard or a performer you follow if something like this happens. So that is why they don't know where to go when this happens. And because they don't know where to go, it's not a set standard, it's shoved under the carpet. The same way, when there was no deterrent in the 1800s for robbing banks, people were robbing banks. Tomorrow you say you're not going to go to jail for doing it and it's open season. How many banks do you think there'll be? It's simple. You have to have someone going to jail because it's time enough. The evidence is so solid. It's not allegations anymore. Allegations is if I just make an offbeat tweet about it. But I'm not a criminal investigator. I'm a Google investigator, like all of you guys are. And it took me a couple of hours to find out all the things I found out. So if it is that easy and it's that easy on top to find out all this, imagine if you get deep down into it. And in fact, the sad part is that the federation knew about this in the beginning of the season. They knew that there's a CBI inquiry against a particular number of clubs and there's a guy called Wilson Raj Perumal involved. That is why CBI got into it. But nothing happened about it, or at least we don't know. And if something had happened about it, obviously this guy wouldn't have been there.
Brad, your take?
Yeah, I think I think Ranjit hit the nail on the head. There's red flags everywhere. I think the Delhi game was the most blatant, and it was on video. So that's been happening. But I think it's almost as if incidents have been fixed, like Ranjit said, for years. I mean, we had that I-League game where somebody needed a 12-goal win to, when there was 11-goal difference, and it happened. So those kind of stray incidents have happened, but I think what the biggest concern now is that it's happening on a regular basis, right? So like in BDFA in the past, you'd have teams where when it was a double leg, they knew that if we draw against, like if my team draws against Ranjit's team, I pick up a point. In the return leg, if they get a draw, they pick up a point. So we both end up getting only 2 points in those games. It's better for me to say to Ranjit, you win this one, let us win the home leg, and we both get 3 points in those situations. So those kind of settings to avoid relegation have been going on and were known in a lot of the leagues. I've sat with you, Sandeep, in a game where people have told us in the stands at Bangalore Football Stadium, oh, this match, the result's already been decided. But I think what's happening now is you've got spot fixing and incidents. It's like bans in the 60th to the 70th minute, is a goal going to be scored, or is it more than 4 goals? And this more than 4 goals thing is where the real red flags and obvious thing come up. And that's when, obviously you've got betting syndicates from Europe and other places, and obviously the Far East or Near East even, where they're coming from. And because of these games being streamed, and I think they're starting to reach players. Like I got, I don't know if I can share the screen on this platform or whatever, but I'll see if I can. But otherwise, I'll just read it out. I mean, I got a message from someone on social media saying, "Hello, sir, are you interested to fix a match? I've got money." So it's that blatant. It's not even subtle, right? And that same message was sent to the club's handle, social media handle, and then Ranjit and I were discussing. So if they're reaching out to club owners, club management, club CEOs, and directly to the club pages, are you telling me they're not accessing the players? Of course they are. They're going directly to the players. And as Ranjit said, if there's no deterrent, like in cricket, when it happened, the national team captain and big, senior players were investigated, banned, etc., and
went to jail. They
went to jail. Yeah. And that was the deterrent. It's never happened, as Ranjit said, in football. And when it's so obvious, it can't just be banning clubs. It has to be much more serious than that if you want to set a deterrent. Otherwise, I've heard players, not directly to me, but saying it through, like it's through the third person. I've heard it where they've said, we're only earning 5,000 rupees per game or per month in the local league. So if someone offers me X amount, of course I'm going to take it when my boots cost 10,000, right? It's not at all a rationale for it, but it's so easy to influence players. And look, you do club licensing, as you said, why not look into the finances of clubs? Why can't they look and actually deep look into the finances of the club and see where the money's coming from into the clubs? Because if they do, as Ranjit said, it's so obvious where it's coming from in some cases. And if clubs can't furnish that, then that's something they need to address, because I don't think you can go after the players because you're not going to get IT returns of every single player. And these are probably small cash payments that have been done. But there are some obvious things, like people making trips in season. There are certain clubs where the officials happen to be making trips to Singapore and Thailand, right? And it's just like, why is that all of a sudden become the go-to destination? And come back and now all of a sudden salaries get paid to players, right? It's no coincidence. The second thing, which I think I alluded to in a tweet, was, look, football's a low-scoring sport anywhere, whether it's Premier League, Europe, everywhere. 2.5, if it's a good World Cup, 2.4 goals per game kind of thing. You look at a lot of our games now, Santosh Trophy included, other games, all of a sudden, all our games are averaging 4+, and seems to be in a game that's low scoring, suddenly ends up 6 goals.
And somehow, mostly after the 70th minute.
After 70th, yeah. That's when the algorithm changes. So that's where, see, if it's a low scoring game and or you're predicting a high scoring game because it's a bottom place team against a top place team, you're expecting people to bet. So people bet on whatever, more than 4 goals. Up until the 60th minute, they try and keep the score low, like 1-0. And then the odds change. And when the odds change, they chuck a load of money on, and then it's the spot fixing. And you look at the number of goals in the 89 to the last few minutes. And it's so obvious because you can't have that many 3-3s, 4-4s happening in local leagues. It's just not, and then, or the random ones where a team's winning 5-0 at halftime and the game finishes 5-0. Or it's 0-0 halftime and finishes 6-1, right? What changed at halftime dramatically that all of a sudden, you're going to get 7 goals? It doesn't happen, right?
And like Prad, you're saying that this is where the flags are supposed to be raised by an anti-corruption bureau, which is just looking at this for these flags.
So, I mean, if we can see these flags as lay people, I mean, we're obviously not lay people. We're in the industry and we've seen it, and you can, I've shared it with you, Sandeep, matches where the chat on the side is telling you that this match is fixed, or somebody in Russia or somewhere, because
Turkey.
Turkey was the last one, right? Who knows the goalkeeper is going to drop one in later in the game? How does he know something that others don't know? And we've spotted people. We've ejected FC Goa. Other clubs in Goa have ejected people, suspicious-looking people, from their grounds because they're there sitting there with a tablet, giving live updates because of that.
Same in Delhi, by the way. Same in Delhi, exactly.
It's that time difference between the stream and live what's happening. And that's one split 2 seconds, or if it's a 2-minute delay, in that 2-minute delay, somebody can make millions. So people need to look. So that's why, in a way, almost this live streaming of local leagues is almost like it's a blessing and a curse now, because it was great that, the local leagues could be, you could watch, I could be sitting in Goa and watch the Bangalore League and scout for a player, or scout an Air Force versus a Delhi game. But if you look at how many genuine fans are watching it, probably no more than 100 of these leagues. But if you look at the chat on the side, it's strangely a lot of Portuguese chat, so Brazil and Portugal maybe.
Eastern
European, a lot of Eastern European, and a lot of Russian as well.
Yeah,
so don't tell me all of a sudden people from these countries have taken an interest in 5th tier Indian football or 4th tier Indian football, right? They've got a lot better football to watch in their country. So why? Right? We're talking about somebody sitting through the entire BDFA match of, HAL versus Kodagu FC, right? who is interested in those two teams outside of India?
Yeah.
So and that's obvious red flags over there. And I think the biggest concern for a lot of us now is, look, there is an integrity officer with the AFF, right? If you're in the ISL, you report these things immediately, it gets flagged. When you drop down the leagues, and as part of our licensing, we're told if you get any illegal approach, you have to report it immediately. Which, when the clubs report it, you don't even get an acknowledgement or a response to it. So that's where the biggest concern for all of us as people who work in clubs is like, well, if we're reporting it and nothing's being done, that message goes back to the people involved, and they know it's like it's free season, it's open season for doing this.
So for
And,
those people, yes.
and I totally agree with Brad when he says this. And you know the reason why they've come to our local and state leagues from all these foreign countries is basically something known as ROI, return on investment. So and the risk involved. So if the guy is sitting in Eastern Europe country or Czechoslovakia or whatever country they're from, he thinks that he has to spend around $500 to fix a match, and in the same match he can make around $10,000 is good enough for him. That's how. So basically, if they do it with Premier League matches or these kind of matches, there's too much of scrutiny. But a far-off league in India where the results are being shown and there are bets being put, and these small kind of things, which I mean, compared to the big fixing, this is small fish fixing here, but it all adds up. So they're putting these small bets every single day in all these six different leagues, and then making up millions of dollars. But it's never flagged because all the bets put on are always $1,000 or $2,000. Because the moment you put on a huge bet on such a small match, even the company which is like Bet365 or whatever, Ladbrokes or whatever,
Yep.
they flag it and they won't allow the bet. Whereas unless you know it's Liverpool versus Man U, it's a different thing. But for this kind of a match, they won't allow a $10,000 bet. So they know exactly what the limits are, and they know that the return of investment on Liverpool versus Man U's odds and Habab versus Rangers odds in Delhi is the same because the odds are odds.
Yep.
You put $1,000, you at the right time, you get that money back. Simple as that. So that's how they play it, and so they know how easy it is to get to people here. Like Brad was saying, is totally right when he says that players say, "I get 5,000 rupees and I only have a 3-month season. Why shouldn't I do it?" When everybody in my team is doing it, they're going to get the money. If I don't join the party, I don't get it. And I don't even play, by the way, so I'll be dropped from the team. So why shouldn't I do it? And I know I'll never make it in the big league, and this is the only time I have, and this is my time and this is what I'm good at, football. So why shouldn't I do it? Because again, like Brad said, no deterrent. Everybody's been doing it. It's been happening very openly, clearly. Now coaches are involved, owners are involved. In fact, people are coming over from different states to come over, take over these clubs. Different clubs, the same person, different clubs every year, just so that they can bring in 6, 7 of their players. For example, Abab, they've been staying in a hotel in Delhi. So I can't afford that because my home base is Minerva, Chandigarh. I actually, for my senior league, I used to go by bus with my team and come back by bus. It's a 5-hour journey, but I'd rather make that journey because staying there means over 1 lakh a day. This guy's been staying there for the last 4 months when the Delhi League is happening. Even an I-League team can't do that. So I mean, it's so open for anyone to see.
Why? I'm just playing the devil's advocate
Yep.
here. You mentioned him staying. Could he not have just been spending money and staying there for the love of football?
Yeah, but why does he need to do it with the above? If he had that kind of money, he can get straight into the I League. Because he's spending more on hotel bills in 1 year than Namdari spent to get into the I League.
See, the other thing, Sandeep, is it's from what I've heard from players who are at some of these clubs, right? Just as Ranjit said, a new investor comes into these clubs, right? ISL as a title they don't have a title sponsor. I League clubs are struggling to get sponsors, right? But all of a sudden, lower level clubs are finding these sponsors who are willing to come in and say, hey, we'll help run your team for this season. So whether it's a Goa Pro League team where maybe the costs are 25 lakhs to run a team for the year, and they're saying we'll put up the lion's share of that. We'll put up 80 to 100% of it. And the person who's running this team, obviously, who's just got promoted and now has to compete against better state league teams, has got this guy who's willing to pump money in and says, what do you want in return? Because obviously everyone's going to ask this because, give my coach an opportunity and I'll bring 6 players because we've got it. So all of a sudden you get 6 players who are well versed at this fix. as well as the coach. And 6 out of 11 in a football team is more than enough to influence sport decisions. And the rest have a choice now, the remaining 5 in the team: play along or get dropped. And if you don't play along, you're not going to get along in the season. And they know which matches to do it. So you'll see the matches in which those 6 don't play, results go per normal, because then you have to have some method of keeping this charade up. And in the matches that they happen, so the same, teams win 6-0 against that opponent, and then the return leg it's 1-0. And there's no transfer window in the middle of it that suddenly, or good coaching that's changed. And this is the same modus operandi is repeated in the Goa League, Bangalore League, and the I League. And what's worrying is it's gone all the way up to the I League. And the 2 clubs that are at the bottom there, it's almost a known secret that they're involved in it, and players from both sides have admitted it. And you look, there is a connection to Singapore. And it's the same people who were fixing the Premier League games 20 years ago, and when the results weren't going in their way, they'd turn off the floodlights, right? So it stopped over there because the deterrent and the police went after them. And now, as Ranjit said, they're focusing on smaller leagues because the odds are the same. So that's something that can be eradicated by state FAs and stuff. When you look into the ownership of clubs, this external ownership problem, or these players coming from certain leagues. And as I said, if you ban it once, you ban certain team owners and players and look to make arrests, it should stop.
So is there no fit and proper test before
No.
an owner comes and an investor comes in?
No. So there is a proper licensing. I mean, they ask for everything under the sun except this. For example, even if you are the sheikh of Saudi Arabia, and you want to be the director in your club, which you've just paid $1 billion for, in the Premier League, you still have to give a director's test. And you know what they do in that test? In that test, the entire thing is about your background and what your financial dealings have been, and have they ever done something with financial fraud or with betting or with, this kind of stuff. And that's the first thing they look at. Here in India, as long as your finances are good, which that means you have a bank account which you can show this, they don't care where that money has come from or who you are. So that has to be very stringent. That if what are the reasons coming into football? So suppose someone is coming into football for making money, you can come to know something is really wrong. He says, okay, I want to come into the state league and I'm going to make 1 crore this year, because that is never going to happen in a real world. And that's what their thing is. How do you think they're jumping to club and are able to keep it up every single year?
Yeah, like Uni's just mentioned about, you've got to do some kind of restriction on investors coming in. But I think at the state league level, I can't see states being able to do that.
No, but I'll tell you, though, deterrent means somebody needs to go to jail and be banned for life.
That's
Simple
true.
as that.
Yeah.
That deterrent will fall down all the way down. Simple.
Yeah. The police have to be involved. It's almost like...
exactly. So, because it's not a red card offense, it's a crime.
It's a crime, yeah.
Yeah. So, if it's a criminal offense, it's got nothing to do with the federation. And that's what I'm saying. Federation will probably ban, and the next year, some good president will come who's known to the player. He'll remove the ban. So, there are ways around everything. And when it's so open, it's not that we don't have proof. This time we have clear proof. And this is the time to strike, because the iron is hot. Because this kind of proof we'll never get again so openly, because they've learned the lesson that, okay, fine. And then they also, make sure that they get their ways right, and they're always looking at loopholes. So they've found their loopholes, and they're never going to repeat this mistake again. And we need to stamp on it now. And stamp on it means, what I've heard is that the ACB has started sending out notices to the people in the Delhi clubs. So if that's actually happened, and जैसे होता है इंडिया 4 डंडे पड़ेंगे, सारा कुछ बाहर आ जाएगा. And definitely there'll be arrests, and people will be flabbergasted to know how far this goes, because trust me, I can guarantee it, it's not the gameplay of one Mr. Akash Das or Susnada Das or some Amit guy who's running the whole thing. There has to be, like he said, these regular trips which keep on happening to Singapore and to Malaysia. There's something huge involved.
We just had a comment which is talking about the registration fees required to play even state level. the bar in certain states is very high. I don't think in certain other states it's not that high also to play C division or whatever league that is. And like you also mentioned about players. The some of the things that I've also heard is players are not getting paid enough. So something on the side, they're willing to take that chance.
See,
Is there a way to solve
I'll tell you
this?
about the first part. Um, the money. I don't believe in this corporate entry shit, even in the top or in any level. I mean, what are you basically? It's ISL now. That's what I've been fighting against. That means the richest person can have his own league. The whole point is that football is a game of merit. If you want to play the top division of the state league and you are that invested and you say, okay, fine, I'm that passionate, I want to go, then start there, win every bloody division and get there. If you're that passionate, show it. But I want to come straight to the top league. You can't do that. You want to do that, you buy another club. So what they've done is they've destroyed the business of any other club owner. Suppose I want to get out of football and there's no value of my club because the guy will just go for a brand new club. And anyone, the amount of money I've spent in the last 10 years on the club, I'll never be able to get it back. But now this guy can spend 1/10 the money, come in the straight on top, and then make that money back within a season because he's come in for the wrong reasons. When you actually go and sweat it out and you are promoted every year or you're demoted or that pain, you can't even think of doing this because you've just got into the I League and it's been blood, sweat, and tears all along. So this is a practice which should be stopped by state federations, and they are copying the I League, and the I League is doing it openly. I mean, getting a team from outside, how are you making sure that? Yeah, I'm not talking about the clubs this year or last year. I mean, how are you making sure that they're all kosher? Because there were clubs last year in the I League which got in because of sifarishes, and because they knew that they had somebody's hand on them, and they knew that they had relegation protection, they were taking money from players to play them in the I League. They were taking 20 to 40 lakhs. That's another form of fixing. I mean, you're taking money for the richest guy to come and play in your club.
Yeah, I think to touch this, I mean, like I'm not going to get into the direct entry thing as much because I mean I've seen the pros and cons of it, but I think the non-relegation is a big issue because the moment you're immune from that, what's to stop you fixing the result? If you know you can't go down, if you know like the two teams, let's say the two teams at the bottom of the I League this year, let's say they know that they're not getting relegated, then every game is an opportunity to make money because you're not, otherwise no club is making money in Indian football. Whereas they'll both look at it and think this is the season we'll make our money, and then okay, we use it for next season when we have to avoid relegation. But it's you cannot have a professional league where teams are fighting to get promoted but not have relegation. Then it's just opening this door up for this kind of things, and it's all. But the state leagues where there is relegation, I think a lot of clubs, as Ranjit said, these guys know that they can make their money in one season, and then all that is I back out of that team that got relegated. I made my money, and then now I come in as the investor for the newly promoted team, and then it's repeat the same cycle. And you see a lot of these players and these, I think that Ranjit's tweet showed it. The same investors involved in multiple leagues. You can't have that. There has to be some form of, or you have a minimum time that you have to be involved in a club. You can't have people just chopping and changing every season. So.
For example, Sandy, now I wrote to the AIFF that because I have Delhi FC and Minerva, and by law I have to have an under 13, 15, 18, but Minerva is my home and base, and that's where my home youth development is. And obviously we are both from the north. We can't be having a match against each other because that's not right. Otherwise, because I'm in the I League, they had given entry directly to BFC and to Minerva. It's a direct conflict of interest. But I had to be the one myself say that, and I had to ask for special dispensation because they'd fined me for not entering the other team. And I had said, listen, I'm doing it for this reason. I have a bloody academy of 100. I can make 3 teams. But the whole point is not to be doing this. So now for example, in the futsal thing, I had written a letter to them saying that, please don't enter my second team. I know we've qualified last time, but don't enter my team because it's a direct conflict of interest. They again put my team there, like they don't acknowledge all these things at all. So there's no proactive thing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my under 15 boys there so that there can't be anything of, because see, the whole thing is that then they say that we're going to fine you and we're going to ban you. Now, I totally agree. I wrote with Mr. Qureshi, Justice Dave, and the great Novi Kapadia, we wrote the new constitution. The chapter of conflict of interest was given to me. I wrote 14 pages of it. If the new sports code and the new constitution is applied, all this shit will finish in one day. For example, a president of a state association cannot be also the owner of a club in the same state league and then influencing all the bloody committees and putting wherever you want, because that's the worst thing which you can do. I mean,
But
how
that generally does happen, no? Quite a lot of
it
them do
happens
own
in
them.
every bloody state, man, every second state, and then somehow the all the best players of that bloody state go to his team. All the decisions and the referees are towards him because he influences who goes to the ISL or I League. So unless you shop, this is all part of the same thing. And when you have standards which are so low and the bar is set so low, then it doesn't matter to them when these kind of things happen. For example, in the Goa League, it was a very open secret. And then Churchill Alamau, being the president, came out, said that this league was fixed and 3 teams were involved. In fact, my own team, 6 players were involved, and I'm banning them. What should have happened was there should have been FIR by the Goa Federation against these teams and them, and there should have been life bans on everybody, plus an FIR on them. The police should have done the investigation again because a crime happened. Because it didn't happen, it's going to happen in Goa again. And it's going to happen again and again and again because, again, even when they were caught, there was nothing which happened.
Yes, I think we last maybe 2 years ago we had two instances which Marcus had reported
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
match fixing. But just something that I just wrote down while you were talking, just so that everybody can have an understanding. A lot of the match fixing stories that I've heard before were to save yourself from relegation, right? Okay, you have nothing to play for.
Yeah.
I am sort of at the bottom of the table. Let me just get this win. Maybe I can stay up. When did the international people start getting involved in match fixing here?
I think when the streaming started.
Because now they can have, like Brad said, you go to the Delhi League, by the way, the Delhi League stream. He said he was very generous when he said there'd probably be 100 viewers. They are probably they're probably 50, 60 viewers. How many are actual fans? 2, 3. I'm not kidding. 2 or 3. And rest are all there. Go down to the comment section. Out of 100 comments, 95 comments are by them. And half of them are in different languages we don't even understand. But they've all got the same thing about the rates and that thing coming. So we know exactly what they're talking about. And you probably got, yeah.
And it was spot on. I mean, I was watching I think I'm pretty sure it was Air Force versus some other team. I was watching some kids who were playing on the other Delhi team. And they, the game was low scoring, and someone commented like, "Oh, I thought you said it's going to be more than 3 goals," and it was only 1-0 at the time. And the guy said, "Bro, wait till the 65th minute. The line will drop. The line of over 3.5 will drop to over 2.5." And he goes, "Then you put your 10,000." This is all, you can copy paste it in Google Translate as a foreign language. And so I was curious. I was like, so I was taking screenshots. And I was like, let me watch this, see if it actually happens. Lo and behold, 68th minute, 2 goals immediately. And it goes from 1-0 to 3-0 immediately after the line had changed. And so there's probably loads of guys over there who made an absolute fortune on that because they knew the outcome of the game. And it was, you look at it was just bad defending. It was, to be fair to them, it was pretty good acting. If you're not aware that it was going on, you wouldn't guess that because it wasn't as blatant as the one we saw recently. And I've watched a match in the Goa Pro League last year, which wasn't streamed. We happened to have footage of it because we were scouting. And, the goalkeeper takes up a position which you don't see nowadays. Back in the day, when, Ranjit and I were probably playing, goalkeeper would stand at the back post, right? And the coaches would tell you can always move forward quicker than being able to move backwards. But he was so far at the back post, he just let a striker who was actually behind him run round, come in and score into an open goal. And you're watching it and thinking, you just don't see those kind of goals ever. And so you see strange things happening in games. Goalkeepers like using volleyball techniques to palm the ball out on rebounds. So you see the number of rebound goals that happen. And the other thing is obviously the easiest thing for them to, I think, is fixing of the number of yellow cards and everything like that. If it's
Yeah.
cards and
Yeah.
stuff like that,
That's the easiest thing
easiest
to
thing.
do, and that's why I believe what's happening in the ISL is spot fixing on the yellow cards and the red cards and the penalties. And it doesn't matter on which side it's given. The prediction is you want to double your money, it's over 5 yellow cards or 4 yellow cards or 1 red card, whatever, man. And by the way, so just going expanding on that, somehow 1 week ago, Dilson Raj Perumal's Instagram account was open for everyone to see, and he was inviting people to come and bet on his company called Tipsco or something like that, where if you give him $500, he'll start off by giving you 5 results. Out of that, he guarantees 4 are right, and then he's got these video clips of all the satisfied customers of his. Now, I was scrolling down, and one of the results he had predicted was an I League result, which was Real Kashmir versus Niroka, where he had said there'll be 2 goals scored after the 90th minute. And I went back and I saw it actually happened like that. There were 2 goals scored after the 90th minute. And I went and saw those goals. They were complete single mistakes by single players, one by the centre back, one by the goalkeeper. So it's so blatant.
So Ranjit, you were tweeting yesterday saying I League is fixed and ISL is fixed, and all you were saying. Why would you think
See,
at
when I
that
say
level it is
ISL,
fixed?
see, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
If I had not found this connection, I would have never been able to say I League is fixed. But because I believe the same paraphernalia is involved in running the leagues, that means the referees and the linesmen, it's very difficult to fix ISL players because they're earning good money. Okay. And I really don't think someone is stupid enough. I really hope. I mean, that's the same case for the international cricketers who were earning millions, but they still did it. But still, I don't think that that's happening. What's happening is it's at a level of spot fixing where it's not influencing the results of the matches at all. Okay. It's about the number of throw-ins, it's the number of corners, the number of free kicks, penalties, yellow cards, red cards. And yes, it might affect the match in some off way, but not directly like blatant match fixing is there. Because if
Why
this,
would you say that?
because if this guy is here and he's able to control referees in the second division and I League, the same referees are there in the ISL. It's not some different referee. Today he's doing a match in the I League. After 3 days, you'll see him in the ISL. After 3 days, I'll see him in my state league. And all the referees are like this. So there's a contract of 60, 70 referees, and the same referees are doing it. So I'm not saying all of them are like this, but there are groups, and you can actually see these groups. Somehow they've been doing this for a long time, and they keep getting postings again and again. See, again, there is no accountability and transparency. Again, I say deterrent. If I'm a bad keeper, from the ISL, I'll go down to the I League. If I suck at I League, I go down to second division. If I suck at second division, I sit at home. If a referee sucks at his game, he needs to go back to the lower level, and if he sucks there, to the lowest level, and new people need to be brought in. But there is no deterrent for a referee by making a mistake. Once it's okay, twice it's okay, but you keep doing it again and you keep getting big matches again and again. That's where the problem is.
Brad, you wanted to come in?
I think, I think having seen some of the refereeing decisions, it makes you think that. But I think with a lot of the referees, a lot of it is just incompetence. But no doubt, if syndicates are reaching out to club owners, if they're reaching out to coaches, players, of course they would have reached out to referees. It would be naive to think that they haven't. But I think I think I agree with Ranjit. It's going to be significantly less or almost virtually none in the ISL because there's a lot more eyeballs on it. Your cell phones have to be handed in before you get into the dressing room. When I was there, it was like pretty strict about certain things. You couldn't even hand a chit of paper. There's one match I was in the stands and I was making notes and wanted to hand it over to the.
But Brad, the thing is that in your stadium, it's still very good. Even in the hotel is good because you guys are staying in good, solid hotels,
Correct.
with good security, and on your own floor.
Yeah.
And you can pick out these guys from a mile.
Right.
Whereas where I League,
it's not. Yeah, I League guys have phones on the bench, right? It's not banned. State leagues, people can have a cell phone on the bench. So if you can have direct contact with someone on the bench, then it's look, we'd be naive to think they haven't reached these people, right?
So the only way to do that, that is why I thought ISL, because the only way to do that is through referees and
Yeah,
linesmen.
but I think
And it's the same guys here, so it's not very
yeah,
difficult.
but I think that, as I said, because of the risk of getting caught and because there's so many eyeballs, and it's when the odds are the same, you might as well do it at a lower league, and that's why they target the state leagues, because it's no eyeballs on it, no accountability. The people who are doing it don't even mind the risk because, as you said, some of them are not earning. Their clubs, as some people have commented, aren't paying on time, and so you think, all right, I can do this once. And it's like any addiction. You do it once, you're going to be hooked on doing
No,
it.
no.
But
Once you do, Brad, once
done,
you
yeah,
do
you're
it,
done.
then
Yeah,
the thing is that they've got you.
yeah. Then
And you don't do it again, then
correct.
they are the ones who are going to expose you. So once
Yeah.
you do it, you are dead.
Yeah. See, because in the UK it was like players could bet, obviously, because it's legal over there to bet, right? So you used to have silly bets like who's going to get the first throw in. You can bet in England, like Ladbrokes, you can bet on anything, right? So if I'm the captain of one team, Ranjit's captain of the other team, we go for toss. It's like who gets kickoff first. So you get kickoff. If the odds are that we have to get the first throw in, I kick it diagonally. All I need to do is their fullback has to just head it out for a throw in. We get the first throw in. If the odds are that they should get the first throw in, same kick, I just overhit it and it goes straight out for a throw in. So it doesn't affect the result of the match, but we've both made money. So that's a sort of, what do you call it? A harmless bet or harmless fix for those people. In those, because these results have come out. Like Wilson Raj Perumal's been around for donkey's years. There's enough articles about him. There's enough books about him and stuff like that. It's and when they got caught in Europe, if you look at, the documentary, read the books and all that, they talk about the next target is to go to smaller leagues in Asia where there's less eyeballs on the league. And that's exactly what seems to have happened. And I think if the authorities don't wake up to it, it's going to kill youth football, because if it's happening at state leagues where the young players are going to come through to go into the I League and ISL, and if they're getting influenced to do this, they'll think, hang on, I can make more money than an I League or ISL player doing this in my state league, and I'm going to do it. And I see kids, because I know what salaries these kids are on in the state leagues, right? So maximum, whether it's Bangalore, Kolkata League, this, that, they're not on big ISL or I League kind of money. So all of a sudden they're rocking up one day with bling here, a new bike, when a new bike costs more than their annual wages. And then midway through the season, another second bike appears. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to tell you where these guys are getting their money from. And, second thing is you look at the boots. The boots that these players wear is, I can't even dream of, think about spending 20,000 rupees on a pair of boots, right? It's just mind-boggling, but they do. And you're playing in the
they do it every month.
Yeah. And they're playing in the local league, spending that kind of money on boots. So,
but if Sanit, one more thing, if you ask Brad, because he's also such an excellent coach and he's down on the ground, how it makes us feel, the ones who have devoted our life to Indian football, and when we hear this, it just makes it, it made me question my life choices, because you feel very helpless, because no matter what you do, and why I'm saying this is because Brad has actually complained. Nothing has happened. I have complained. Lot of people have. Now we've come to know, because we're all talking. Lot of people have complained, and like he says, we don't get an acknowledgement back also. So if there's going to be no deterrent, and then tomorrow it's very easy to have, actual teams being taken over totally, and you only having players who have just paid to get in or who are going to fix the entire match. For you to understand, the moment the fans see that matches are fixed, they'll stop watching.
Absolutely.
And fathers will stop sending their sons or daughters to play this game. They'll rather send it to a cleaner game, which is not going to be involved with this shit, because along with this shit comes all the crime, with all the mafia and all the shit which you can get into. This is the worst kind of crime syndicate fixing.
So you mentioned about the lack of action from the authorities or the powers that be. Has there ever been a situation where they've acted? Because let's say the 2 articles, the 2 years Marcus broke the news of match fixing in Goa. I think a couple of years ago there was a report about potential somebody sort of checking whether there is some investigation going about some match in, I think, BDFA, if I'm not wrong, a couple of
Yep.
years before. Has there been a right now in Delhi as well? So has there been any instance where they've actually been proactive and done something about these fixes or these news reports or these allegations?
I, I've heard of CBI questioning. They've called in um, officials from certain clubs and asked them to appear, but nothing beyond that. I mean, like I said, that's not enough because you, if you're going to convict someone, obviously you need a fair amount of proof, right? You can't just bring in, let's say, the coach of one team, because sometimes the coach may not be privy to what's been going on with his players. Sometimes, if they're well versed with the coaches, then they can just deflect it onto somebody else. You have to bring in the entire. Uh, yeah, if you think, let's say, there's three teams in, for example, in the Goa Pro League, if you suspect there's three teams that are involved because they've got similar ownership, or there's one promoter that's involved in at least two of those three clubs, you've got to bring almost every single player in for questioning and get every single member of their staff in for questioning. And yeah, the question is, do we have the resources for it? When it's cricket, obviously it's going to break. It's national news. Investigative journalists are out. This is why, when I was asking you, Sandeep, I was like, wouldn't any journalist want to go in, undercover, respond to these guys on social media, try and get more details about it, and then expose the whole thing? Is someone willing to do that? I mean, that's one of the reasons, why we're coming forward and talking about this, is because for 3 years, everyone in Indian football knows this is happening, but no one's really come forward and said it. But it hurts, as Ranjit said, to know that you're playing competitions, you're coaching youth, and you're trying to get them involved in it. And the youth are now talking about, oh, he's a fixer. That match is set. He's playing for that team. Those teams do this. And it openly, your boys who are under 21 are talking about how players and other teams are doing this. And kids are getting tempted towards this because it's an easy lifestyle. And their needs are such. They're seeing on social media the other guy flashing his bling or flashing his new shoes, his new bike, etc. And we think, big deal. It's only one match. We're winning 4-0 anyway. What difference does it make if I let 2 goals in? So someone has to come forward and talk, and hopefully this gets more people talking about it and more people saying, listen, we need to do something about this. But until state FAs start cracking the whip and getting police involved, I don't think there's enough of a deterrent now.
Yeah, exactly, Brad. Investigative journalists, we need one standing up for football now, because it's not. I mean, it took me a couple of hours on Google, and I was able to find so much. So someone who's well versed in this, imagine what they can find. That's what I'm saying. Imagine if the police actually did an investigation, what they can find. And people say, it's if there are murders happening, how is this important? The point is, end of the day, it's a crime, and under any other law, this carries proper crime, jail sentence if convicted. But for that, their investigation has to happen. But people don't understand that the same guys who are involved in this will be involved in other activities as well, which are not kosher, because that's where they're funding and money laundering their money through it, and that money definitely is being used for other stuff. And they've got offshore companies. But if you do an investigation once and then you have someone go to jail for it, that will be the beginning of the end of fixing in India, which has not happened even once. Like you were saying, has it ever happened? No, it's not. Never till today. So why wouldn't there be fixing?
But even last year, I think somebody had put something in Delhi League only, blatant offsides
Yeah.
being not called or
So
called and stuff like that.
yeah. So it was totally. See, there's one thing where you can say, like Pratt was saying, incompetence, general incompetence. But if it's the same guy and you can see that he's in line, and he can definitely see that the striker standing 10 feet from the centre backs, and he's standing right there, and he doesn't raise his flag, and he starts running and then immediately gives the goal. You can come to know that something is wrong. And then if that guy is given another match after that, and again and again and again and again and again, and next year he's still officiating like he is the guy you're talking about, he's still officiating, there's no point, because he's already made his money and he's making money every single day, and he still make money. And he knows now that no referee or player or club owner or official has Forget about going to jail, has even been banned by a state federation or fined. Forget about going to jail. So why wouldn't they do it? I'm saying, why wouldn't they?
Even players, right? When you are in
Yeah,
so little
same.
money and your contract is 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah, what do you do? How do you even stay fit or keep your diet up or exercise? That's why I see in Calcutta people play Cape.
Yeah.
That is why, for the off season, because they have no other way of staying fit and also earning a livelihood. And matches are fixed there on a daily basis because betting is going on outside. But that's their livelihood. Now, there are a lot of other ways where you, in all other spheres of life, where you say, okay, fine, I have no money, so why don't I just fucking do this? See, then there is no stopping you. If you don't have money, you can go and rob a bank. If you don't have money, you can go and kill somebody and rob somebody. Then it's no stopping you. If I don't have money, I'll fix a match.
Sandeep, I've got a controversial one for you. I mean, see, obviously, Kerala football sevens. Sevens is lots of betting happens in the sevens in the crowd, right? Otherwise you wouldn't have so many people coming and watching it. So so betting by itself isn't a bad thing, right? I don't think in Kerala sevens, I was speaking to someone today, that the players are setting the matches. It's fiercely well for what they do, right? But people on the outside come for the entertainment and come to bet. So it's almost as if it won't happen, but if you legalize betting, you might actually eradicate the problem.
Right.
Because the moment you tax it, the moment you have people then have, they've got eyeballs on it. You've got then proper sites that you can go and bet on. And then you've got the algorithms will tell you that there's a fixed bet.
Dude, in India, there's no horse fixing. Okay.
Yeah.
Because horse race fixing, because you can legally bet in some places on horses and you don't ever find fixing things coming out of there. Whereas any place where you restrict it, there will be the growth of this. Simple as that. You have to legalize it, bring it under control, tax it, and not only do that, that benefits the football industry. Oh my God, it's a huge fill up, because you will have people coming and putting the bets on, but that will make sure that there'll be more money in the game, and there'll be people on the gate whose only job it is to check whether you're accredited to go into that dressing room or not, because your photo's outside right there. Every place is CCTV. There's a deterrent there. Why? Because the money is coming to the game, and it's professionalized. You know what the pitfalls are and goes with it, instead of doing what you're doing right now. So in states where alcohol is banned, it's worse. Because you are basically giving all the money to the mafia and they're bootlegging. That's what's happening now. All the money which can be actually be earned by the government. So see, it's not that people in India or the world will stop betting on football.
Absolutely.
They will always bet on football.
You're not going to eradicate betting.
You're not.
And even in cricket, right? Cricket betting is technically illegal in India. But Dream 11, all these, whatever these.
So that's the best way is to actually legalize it. That's Brad said, exactly.
And if you look at the sponsors in the ISL as well, I think a few years ago it was Dafa Bet, Bet365, Pari Match. All these guys are.
The sponsor of Delhi League is Dafa Bet.
Right.
The Delhi Premier League is sponsored by Dafa Bet. So see, that's what I'm saying. Okay, look at it.
So don't kid yourself that there's no betting. Everyone's betting.
Why would you?
Kind of structure.
Yeah, because Pepsi is on the Indian cricket team's jersey, because Pepsi wants the entire country of India to drink Pepsi. Okay, that's why they've chosen that. What the fuck is the return of investment of Dafa Bet in Delhi Premier League? That means there's so many people actually betting on that site, on that thing, that is worth it for them to go and sponsor that bloody league. And the moment you have a president of a club who's sitting there, who's taking that money in, you should ask why. I mean, that's where your ethics should stand up, because the president should understand, if this is coming in, either betting is legalized in my country, no problem, bring them in. But if it's not, then it's wrong to take money from a betting company.
See, and the other thing you got to question now is, the streaming of these matches, right? For us to stream our own second division matches, it costs us roughly 35 to 40,000 rupees a match. So if we've got 10 matches this year, we're going to stream. That's 4 lakhs out of our pocket, because third division, second division level, I-League doesn't, it's not covered. So we've done it to make sure all our games are on for the fans to watch who aren't there at the stadium. Now, so if you just use that multiplication of, let's say, even if you get a discounted rate of 20,000 per game, for a league to televise every single match in BDFA, and BDFA has got what, 20 plus teams. How is the league justifying making it? So obviously the company that's streaming it is not charging them that much. They must be doing it.
Bro, so let me tell you the
Right. So
inside story.
that's where the question
inside
comes.
story. The inside story is all these new streaming services which have come up, sporting streaming services, and are giving such fantastic quality from bloody 8 fucking cameras, are doing it for free. Can you believe that they did the entire Delhi League for free, 180 some matches for
It's
free?
not free. Yeah.
Exactly. So they say, okay, where are we? Oh, we are getting it from our sponsors. And then you try to fucking look for the sponsors in the feed. There are no sponsors.
The sponsors, yeah.
Okay, so you have to understand, why is this guy interested in going and bloody doing this for my league? And look at the costs involved, like Brad said, and imagine that cost over 180 matches for a state league.
With commentators.
With double commentators sometimes.
But there are also streamers who are getting paid, right? Some companies are getting paid by the Federation Association. We had this problem in the KSFA and some stream. I forgot the name of the stream. They had some problem in between, then they stopped and they was not streamed for a year, and they came back on stream again. I think last year or something.
Yeah, see, but what I'm saying is, Sandeep, the cost of streaming every single game, and KSFA has more, BDFA League has more teams than the I League or ISL, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
it has about 18 teams.
It's not a huge number to cross, to be honest.
Right, but still 18 teams playing each other once. I think it's a single leg.
Yeah, one time. Yeah.
Right, it's still a significant number of matches to stream. Right, granted, setup is easy. Camera setup there in one stadium. It's there every single day. 2 matches a day. But why would a federation spend that money? Because what's the return on it for them, right? So the streaming company is obviously selling that product somewhere, and judging by the feed of the comment section, it's obvious where it's being sold. It's not for the few of us who are trying to scout for players that are thing. If that was the case, they'd make it like an Instat, and you'd have to have an account, and I'd log into my Instat account and I'd have to pay. Like for me to watch the Kolkata League, and I'm scouting for players of Kolkata League, I had to buy the Instat package. It wasn't very expensive, but I paid for the package and I could watch all of Kolkata League. No comments, nothing. It's just streamed, right? Whereas to watch BDFA, to watch Goa League, watch Delhi League, it's free. I just have to go on YouTube or Fancode, right? So it's there where you've got to question, hang on, what's in it for somebody? Because no one does anything for free. So,
and somehow in these same streams, there are only 3-4 Indians watching, and everybody else is.
So, you mentioned horse racing. So, I've covered some Bangalore Turf Club for a while. The amount of money that comes out of that place through taxation and everything is huge. There's a huge turnover, huge investment that comes into Bangalore itself. But it doesn't look like football is going in that direction, right? Even like a Dream 11 direction where you are betting on Dream 11, or an app where it's the technicality is it's a skill sport and not a luck-based sport. That's the demarcation that they use. Football doesn't seem to be going that direction also, which is very strange. Fantasy Premier League is betting, right? At the end of the day, if you are putting money on it, yeah.
Yeah, look, people are betting on football matches in the Premier League, World Cups, all sorts of matches. I'm not saying the act of betting isn't a problem, right? At the start of every season, when you do a preview show of the ISL or the I League, you ask whoever your experts that come on your show and say, well, who do you think is going to win the league this year, right? You're making a prediction, and that's a bet that you're taking. You're hedging a bet. There's no money involved, we might have a forfeit involved or something. But you're taking an educated guess on who you think it is. That there's no problem in that, and I think that's not what the issue. The issue is where it's no longer a fair league, where you're starting to see teams, especially in the I League, where if you play certain opponents, granted the result might be known that they're highly unlikely to win, but the 4 goals all of a sudden, or the 6 goals all of a sudden, that's just ruining the sport, and it's just ruining young players. It's ruining whatever players, and that's got to be stopped. I mean, I think someone recently, I think Ranjit mentioned about 2 players from a particular club over there. The club is banned, but why isn't the club reporting them to the police. If they've got information on them that says they're fixing, go to the cops about it.
And now it's three players, and then there's a fourth player apparently, whose name is Longjam Gobin Singh, Gobin Singh, who apparently has played for India, and they've named him in the official complaint. And now that's what I said. You must go and lodge an FIR because you have now named three players and you have named this openly and they put it out on their statements. You need to actually do something about it. So they say they have. But I can't believe that the police in all the states of India are so lax, because the amount of power these club owners have in their own states, trust me, if they reach to this level, they have some pull and say. I'm talking about I-League club owners. If they really want to get a FIR registered against somebody in their own state, and if it's actually a true thing, will not take them much time if they really want to.
So that onus is on the club owners.
Yes, definitely. So if they come to know about it and they don't, and they say that we've conducted our own inquiry, see, you can conduct your inquiry if your player has spoken back to the referee and he's got a yellow card and if he's been told stop fucking taking yellow cards for dissent, otherwise I'm going to fine you, and then there's a club inquiry for that. That's okay. But if your player has gone and committed a murder on the pitch, you can't be doing your inquiries. It's a crime, so it has to be reported to the police. So the moment you've come to know that this has happened, you need to report it to the police, and it's then on the police to do an investigation whether to lodge an FIR or not and whether to arrest the guy after doing the investigation.
But how much can you? This is generally an arbitrary question because as Prad and I were discussing about journalists writing stories, I have written reams and reams about age fraud in sport in general, not just football. And everybody knows it's happening. Everybody knows the names. Everybody knows the people. Everybody knows all these things are open in the open. But there is never any action, right? Very rarely is there anything at all.
No,
So
bro.
why would
Bro.
this
I
be
don't
a
think
problem?
so. See, bro, I don't think so. I think that because of people like you who brought it up again and again in the media, and again, see, it was not mainstream media who was saying age fraud, age fraud, age fraud. It was again media like you who was bringing it up again and again, the ones who really care for the game, because they knew that if age fraud is there, nothing is going to happen. Now we've forced the federations, especially all the clubs and academies who have really invested a lot of money in it, have forced the federation to stop this, because otherwise we will not go forward. So now we've been able to see this under 17. Yes, they have banned these two teams, but 90% of all teams in under 17 were overage. 90%. And you can ask Brad, he's also under it and he knows what I'm talking about. Why? Because there was somehow no test for that this time. But for the under 13s and under 15s, the PW3 is there. Yes, is based on a Caucasian method, and yes, we don't have an Indian method, but at least it's somewhere, man. At least it's a start. So at least it will check blatant overage people coming in and playing and spoiling the game. So you'll see the effect of this when this under 15 batch actually goes. That's where people used to say, how are Indians lost after 18? Because till under 18, 19, they're very good. No, when they're under 19, they're fucking 23. That is why they're very good at that level. And the moment they go to senior, then you just see there's nobody there. So this way, when they are under 15s are going properly, and in 5-7 years, you see the effect of just the age fraud thing coming, and that will take our ranking up a few spots. But if you really want to make a difference, this has to start again at the grassroots at the age of 7, 8, 9, 10. And again, we come down to the same thing, because if you're going to do that, how do I convince the best cream of my country to join this sport when this shit is happening at the highest level?
So here is this because Ashu's put an interesting comment here about cricket and Jadeja not being filed, a criminal case not being filed against him.
Yeah.
Using that as a
So see,
thing,
no. So there are places where criminal cases have been fined against people and some have not. And then after that, some people have been cleared by the law. Like, for example, Sri Sant. He was banned for life by BCCI, but he was cleared by the court. So nobody gives a fuck about BCCI. We give a rat's ass about what the court has said, because the court is the one who's done the investigation and come to a proper conclusion. There are people in the cricketing world who have been convicted by the court for the same crime. So it's not that, yes, Jadeja is not there, Sri Sant is not there, but there are other people who have done it. and they have been convicted, and they have spent time in jail for it. There are bookies who have spent time in jail for it, and there are people who have lost the ownership of their clubs in the IPL because they were involved and they were told to fuck off from there. And one of them was the son of the president of BCCI at that time. One of them was the husband of a very famous actress. So they all had power, but they were involved in betting, and there was strict action taken, and it was out in the media. So, would you think that those people are still doing it? No, they're not.
But do you think an AIFF ban at least would be a deterrent?
There has to be a rule. So it can't be just, what I'm saying is, it can't just be arbitrary that this president feels like he does it.
No, it has to be in the constitution.
Yes, so it has to be a set rule that if any complaint comes, this is a procedure, SOP to follow. Like, see, when you have these committees in, sorry, you have these sexual harassment things in every public workplace or government workplace or any place above a certain number of employees, where any woman knows if something has happened, you need to go and complain to this person and this action will be taken. And then there's an SOP that if somebody comes to you, this is what you have to do, and this is not your fucking decision. If this has happened, you will damn well go report it to the police. It's not a company matter anymore. The same way, there has to be a set procedure that once this complaint comes in, suppose Ranjit Bajaj has made a complaint, this complaint has to be not investigated by your in-house person, which is direct conflict of interest. It has to be done by independent body. Now, you don't want to have the police get into it. Have another independent body, like you have a disciplinary committee, like you have other committees, which are just empowered to do this. This is that specialized a job. And if they feel, they should have the power to go and report it to the police and get an FIR lodged. But this has to be done. For every complaint, it has to be taken very seriously. And how many complaints are being made? Just in the last 1 week, I've come to know. I thought it was only Brad and me. In the last 1 week, I've come to know at least 20 people who have told me that we have complained about this and nothing's been done.
See, Sandeep, the other thing is now, if nothing gets done about club management, owners, senior management of clubs complaining to the federations, why would players suddenly act as whistleblowers, right? See, anytime this comes out, it's normally there's a whistleblower from inside. The ones who have access to the text messages directly from them are the players, especially from knowing teammates are doing this. Like I have ex-players of mine now who've dropped down the leagues and playing in the I League or in state leagues, and they're asking me, what do I do? I know my teammates are fixing it. So you're trying your hardest in a back four, and the other three aren't. And you suddenly turn around and you think you're trying to play offside, and the guys are dropped behind you and goals. So you look bad. So you're now thinking you're on a team that's conceding 4-5 every single game. It's affecting your chances to get to play. So he wants to quit the team. And this is not just an isolated incident. I've had 2 or 3 texts from ex-players that this telling me about. So, short of me saying, show me the text, show me the screenshots and all that. I mean, I'm not the investigative journalist. What am I going to do with them? And then it's like, it's not even the club that I'm involved with. If it was my club, obviously, I could take matters into and look into it and report those boys. But if no one's doing anything, players are going to be scared. They're like, oh, if I speak up, I'll get into trouble.
No, because yes, Brad, why do you think no one's done it till now? Why do you think people don't come out in the public and do it? Because they think that nothing is going to be done about it. And they're right.
They're right.
They're right. Nothing is going to be done about it. Now, look at the amount of how loud I had to be on social media to get first attack. I did it 2 months ago. Nobody paid attention. Did it again. People were saying. Then I did a long fucking thread about it. That listen, what is wrong with you? Do something about it. Now, if they're still not going to do something about it, when I've come out like this, there's never going to be anything done about it in match fixing ever, because this is as blatant as it can be. Normally, you don't get footage like this. This is as blatant as it can be. And from here, you can actually find out everything and then put a stop to it. And that's what I'm saying. The iron is out. We need to strike now, and it has to be done down to the investigative agencies. And we have to put, as fans, it's our duty to put, when I say pressure, just tweet to them and say, please, Delhi Police or IPS Madhur Verma, he's the head of ACB. He's on Twitter. All of us fans can go, please at least say, please, guys, do something. Just do your investigation, and it'll take you to the right people. In fact, it might just be the biggest breakthrough in Asian football for the last 20 years, because this is the same person who did it in Malaysia, FIFA World Cups, Olympics. Man, come on. He's fixed the Olympics. He's fixed the FIFA World Cup. And people saying, no, ISL is safe. Okay, good.
This, for those who are listening, you can check out the Kelong Kings. That's the book.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So,
Geelong Kings.
so
They
yeah,
should be paying us. Bro, they should be paying us money, royalty, okay? We are making sure this book is sold now.
I had a couple of people who messaged me saying it was an eye opener because we mentioned this book last time, and they went and bought the book and read it. So we actually did, at least help their sales in some way. So I think I've taken more than an hour of your time. So I'm just going to give both of you a free hand to say whatever that you have to say because I have asked a lot of questions and there were a lot of questions I had written down. You automatically spoke about it, so I kept scratching it off in my tab here. so, so yeah, anything that you want to get out of your chest and you think that can be done because it's clear that whistleblower thing is not going to work.
No, I think look, you asked before if there's anything that's off limits. I think we've covered everything in terms of I think what hopefully this encourages is more people who've seen this, especially coaches who are aware of it, because I know coaches who've spoken to me, is to come out, whether do the correct thing, which is reported to the federation, your state FA and the AFF, to the integrity officers, and then if nothing is done about it, then please go public, because as Ranjit said, the more and more people that come out and do it, then the less people can hide, right? State affairs can't turn a blind eye to it if every week someone's posting a screenshot of a fixer sending them messages or players sending messages. At some point it's going to become too much to ignore, and I think that's the whole idea of us coming forward, was to say that, because at some point enough is enough. I mean, it's been like I said, it's not something that's happening overnight. This has been going on for last 3-4 years blatantly. It's been going on for a while probably, but blatantly it's been happening for about 3-4 years.
I mean, you and I have actually started laughing about this, right? That's the level of these kind of comments, especially these comments on the streams. That's the level that has gotten to where we find it funny now.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
In fact, it's got so blatant because earlier there was, there's in Punjab, in North India, you say this thing, aankh ki sharam. At least in front of your parents, at least you have that, So, and choron ki bhi like hoti hai aankh ki sharam, that you don't fucking go and steal in front of you. But if it's not aankh ki sharam and somebody is actually stealing in front of you, it's not stealing, it's dacoity. So it's not now fixing, it's blatant, do what the fuck you can, because we are going to fix your matches and make money off it because you can't do shit about it.
This is I mean, the way the goals happened in the Delhi match, I always feel like they forgot it was being streamed, and that's the only reason I can figure out. That's such blatant, and that's a good thing that it came out. We have been able to talk about this for all our audience. We've been able to bring this and discuss in depth, especially what happens in the lower leagues and maybe even the higher leagues. Now that we delve deeper and deeper. I hope everybody who's seeing this can share it. Unni is watching, so I hope FNI will help. So, and
Unni actually asked that even in AFF doesn't have a child protection policy. You're right. It doesn't have a sexual harassment policy. It had it once after I had made those complaints about the Kushal Das thing. Then they came up with the policy. So they are not proactive, but at least now, if this, like we said, there has to be something in the constitution. There has to be a deterrent, and really hope that everybody takes it out there, because if we are able to do something, then it's still handleable. But if we don't, then once it reaches a stage where it's already kind of out of our hands, but if it goes further, then the game is dead. It's not it's not the beautiful game anymore.
Yes, absolutely. It's not a beautiful game anymore. The youngsters, like Prad said, their chances, you never know what the future they could have had things changed, happen differently in their lives also. So this is something that is just beyond 90 minutes, something that is just beyond, the $1,000 that you might make for one game. This is with people's lives. So let's hope people watching this got a lot of information. Let's hope they take it and speak about it publicly, and we get some sort of answers and solutions to all these problems. So I'd like to thank both of you, Brad and Ranjit. Thank you so much for just coming up and being so honest about it. I was a little concerned for both. I asked you both of you, are you okay talking about this? But I'm happy that you both of you are able to, you're okay coming forward to talk about this situation and problems that it's fairly a cancerous situation in Indian football. So thanks to all of you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, man.
Yes. Cheers and see you guys, everybody, for the next stream where we'll try to do something like this.